God damn. Hello. It's been a while. I have been hibernating all up in a little, well, that was about to sound very gross. In my own hole. By hole, I mean my house. Yikes. Anyway, moving on. Hi, my name is Jure, and this is RetroReflections. Now, what the fuck is that? RetroReflections are an optical phenomenon where light striking a surface is redirected directly back to its source, rather than scattering, ensuring high visibility in low light conditions. Sure, you all, hi little fly, can see where this is going, but maybe not. And if not, that's okay. Because if I'm the only one that sees it, that's all right. That's why this is RetroReflections, because we're lighting up the darkness that is this wild ass world we live in. Because why is all of this happening right now? Well, because shit needs to change. Shit's been needing to change for a very long time. We need a world that holds all of us. Right now, we live in many systems and structures that do not. For many years, I've been trying to figure out what Underground Rainbow Experiment is in the context of so many different things. In the context of the entertainment industry as it currently exists, in the context of organizing and social justice work, in the context of all of these different holes and categories. And you know what we found out? We're not in any of those things. We are in all and none at the same time. We, just like the nature of Black, trans, and gender non-conforming people, which the space is fashioned for, flow between realities in order to align with the world we want to see, the people we want to be, and the way we want to conduct ourselves and create. Now, this doesn't mean that I haven't learned from those spaces. I spent several years organizing in spaces that had politics of Black feminist theory and took that in. I spent time organizing in labor rights spaces, so developed my economic justice theory and practice there, and have always been an artist. I've created a lot of different spaces for a lot of different types of people and have learned a lot of different things. Those are very big words. But really, I'm a student of the world. I consider myself a lifelong learner. I consider myself someone who is very much a student of life and spirit and of craft. I learn a lot by doing, and I learn a lot by being. And I learn a lot by just trying and failing. I don't really believe in failure. I believe in accumulative lessons, right? Every time I approach my practice, I learn. Whether I be making a film, whether it's music, whether I'm building programming, teaching classes, running workshops, holding spaces, I'm always learning and adding and developing myself and the fruits of that self-development. Now, what I'm here to talk to you about today is one of those fruits. I've spent a lot of time within and also away from the Underground Rainbow Experiment, really figuring out with intention what this is and what this isn't. A lot of what I've learned, fortunately and unfortunately, has been what this is not, right? That's what happens when you try shit and you run and you bump your leg and you got scars all over it, but then you keep going, right? So I've been searching and expanding and contracting these understandings of what this space is for a long time. Who I am, also. Funnily enough, who I am and what this space is have really grown together like this. 5 years ago, I got the name Underground Rainbow in a dream. I didn't know what the hell was going on. I woke up and started working on figuring it out. What I thought would take me maybe a week or two ended up taking me 5 years. It took me from Baltimore, Maryland to the West Coast to learn more about organizing practice and to also just find peace for myself in a place where I have wanted to live for a very long time, a place where my ancestors are actually buried. My great-grandparents and grandparents were some of the first Black folks like out here, and so it's really been a return. Yeah, it's been beautiful. Anyway, this journey has been a lot of me following my gut, following instincts, following joy and pain alike into what this is and being shaped by all of it. All that to say, I have finally found the words to articulate what I believe is the best way I have to date to sum up both my political practice, my artistic practice, what I'm really doing, the core of it all, and what I hope for Underground Rainbow Experiment to do. Our slogan for Underground Rainbow Experiment is this: we create ourselves, we create our belonging, we create our freedom, right? So what does that mean and look like? To create the self is the journey that has inspired this theory that I'm about to name, the theory of autoluminescent being. Auto being of self, luminescent meaning to generate light. Creation and destruction often happen simultaneously. Sometimes the two are inevitably linked, whether we acknowledge it or not. When folks are introducing new forms of technology, older ways of doing things naturally become obsolete, right? We phase things out. This is just a part of life, of human development, of evolution, right? And so that being said, for years, I've seen creation and destruction as separate. But just as a light illuminates the darkness, we also can illuminate the aspects of ourselves that we want to bring to the surface. And that is really what the theory of autoluminescent being is about. Auto meaning of self, luminescent meaning to generate one's own light. I'm gonna get into this. You know it's serious because we got our notes. All right. So anyway, no big deal. It is a big deal, kind of. Yeah, this is the theory of autoluminescent being. The first principle, self-creation. To create oneself is the greatest task given to each of us. Nature demonstrates that life can emerge from itself through asexual reproduction, revealing that a being may be birthed of its own will and inclination. We are all autoluminescent beings, beings that can create light. Born with an internal source of light and the capacity to regenerate that light regardless of our surroundings. The existence of biophotons affirms this. Biophotons are light particles produced within living cells without heat that cease upon death and function as a rapid communication network. Additionally, light in nature is not singular in origin, meaning it don't only come from the sun. Through triboluminescence, hydroluminescence, and sonoluminescence, light is generated through friction, movement, and sound. So too do we, as human beings, generate light through any condition, under any pressure. We retain the capacity to produce and renew our inner luminosity. 2, essence is the foundation of identity. This light within us is our essence, the fundamental, indispensable quality that determines identity. What would our world become if we defined ourselves through essence rather than through imposed conditions such as socioeconomic status, race, gender, nationality, or language, while still honoring the impact of these conditions as a catalyst of ourselves and our essence? Theologian and spiritualist Paris Nichelle Shango Alamadidiola Ogunle offers a framework through her theory of essence-based identity. In this understanding, self-actualization is derived from one's iponri. The iponri is the higher self rooted in Ifa theology, which is the tradition I'm a part of, rather than from external systems or social constructs while still being shaped by said constructs, right? So thinking about it like almost like a rubber band ball is how I would explain it. So every time you're alive, you have one soul, right? And so that soul is like the paper ball. That's the core of the rubber band ball. I don't know if y'all ever did this when you were a kid. I did. I was obsessed. Am I on somebody's spectrum somewhere? Yes. Do I know where on said spectrum? No. But rock with me. Anyway, you got this piece of paper. You put the rubber bands around it. That piece of paper, consider that your iponri, your innermost being, right? Every time you add a rubber band, think of your rubber bands, right, as your lives. You take the ball, you put the rubber band on the ball, you lived a life. And every time you live a life, you're accumulating these rubber bands. So it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And now you're not necessarily changing shape, but what you are doing is expanding. But the iponri works the same way. It's almost like a matrix where you have the controllers from heaven. That, the pods, it's the dude in the pod, that. Okay, great. If that analogy helps you more than the rubber band ball, please take what works. Basically, within one bloodline, the belief is you reincarnate over and over again, and you each time receive understandings to where you're now expanding the experiences that your soul needs, so you can be more in alignment with your truest self or your highest destiny or your highest calling or the highest way of being that you can accumulate. So every life you go to, life is called the marketplace. You go to the marketplace, you go home. Heaven is home, right? So we go back and forth. With that, the iponri, through reincarnation within one bloodline, right? So in my tradition, you don't get reincarnated as a bird, speaking of the birds. You could come into your family as one gender or one race, and depending on who you intermarry in the flow of time can come out, reincarnate as someone completely different. Say you came into a family as a white person and married black folks and had children who were black and chose to marry other black people, you could be reborn as a black person. And then have to confront all the lessons from your past life and energy that you accumulated and you know, spend your lifetime essentially, regardless of who you are, this happens, spending your lifetime gaining a deeper understanding of yourself. That is the journey. That is the point, right? Moving on. Number 3, here's where we pivot to my beliefs. Reincarnation can occur within a single lifetime, standing on the shoulders of the theory of essence-based identity. I propose that reincarnation is not limited to physical death. I believe that the Iponri can generate multiple iterations of itself within a single lifetime by responding to cycles of internal birth and death. I believe this phenomenon is evidenced by the existence of trans and gender expansive people. This belief aligns deeply with my lived experience as a gender expansive and transmasculine person. Throughout my life, I have developed many iterations and expressions of my being by experimenting with various self-concepts and gender expressions. Within these expressions, I braid, bend, and regenerate my light, derived from my essence, into different forms rather than adhering to binary concepts of energy. So, kind of blowing up the framework of masculine versus feminine. Even though people mean that beyond gender identity, I feel that those two energies, having gone between the two so much, are really one. And how you wield it is up to you. I do this through tools such as my artistic practice, gender affirming care, and gender expression. The call into the creation of new expression of my essence was often triggered by suicidal attempts or ideation that signaled an urgent need for change, or rather the death of that present iteration or version of me. These processes have resulted in the creation of many lives and iterations of myself. While the expression of my essence, my light, can be changed to allow for more aligned expressions of my internal state, my essence itself remains the same, regardless of how I choose to express it, or regardless of how the world perceives me. Number 4, expressions of essence can be bent and transformed. I also believe that everyone's essence dwells along a spectrum. Some beings are more comfortable existing within binaries such as masculine or feminine. Others exist on a spectrum, in forms of being that move between or exist entirely outside of these binaries. My essence and that of many of my gender nonconforming loved ones seeks expression beyond binaries, thus removing us from acceptance within a world rooted in binary structures. My essence uses its environment to produce new expressions of light itself, creating and merging different forms of gender, beliefs, and experiences. By bending these varying expressions of our essence, of our light, we achieve deeper alignment with our Iponri, higher selves, or our souls. In other words, Iponri, our souls, birth our essence. Our essence then expresses itself through light that is physically found within us all. Remember those biophotons I was talking about? The light you can literally see on an iridescent camera that dies when you die? All right. This light can then be bent and then regenerated by us at will to highlight different aspects of our Iponri. I'll say that again. This light can then be bent and regenerated by us at will, meaning a conscious decision to highlight different aspects of our Iponri, different aspects that we carry from each of those lifetimes. Based on my lived experience as a Black gender expansive and transmasculine creator, educator, and organizers, I have created the theory of autoluminescent being. The theory of autoluminescent being proclaims that we as humans create natural sources of light that are born from our essence, which is derived from our soul. This light, not our Iponri, not our essence, the light that is the child, that is the grandchild, essentially, of the Iponri, can then be shaped by us at will to meet our developmental needs and create new versions or expressions of ourselves. 5, the process of Black transness and gender expansion hold the key to our collective evolution. I'll say that again. The process of Black transness and gender expansion, Black transness and gender expansion, hold the key to our collective, all of our evolution. Therefore, in this theory, I propose that the ability to wield one's light to align more closely with our iponri, our souls, or our higher selves, is one that trans and gender nonconforming people have mastered over centuries. This ability to wield expressions of our light that exist outside of traditional binaries is one that humanity must collectively embrace to balance itself and our earth in order to build systems that allow space for people and practices that cannot be held in our current socio-economic systems built on polarities. What does that mean? It means we live in a binary world that don't even hold, that barely holds the damn binaries at this point. Let's think about it. If we really go into where these binaries of Eurocentric traditions come from, there are plenty of people who have written plenty of papers about this. Some folks I definitely suggest are Black on Both Sides by Riley C. Norton. That was a huge and very transformative book for me. It's a long read, it's real thick. Suzanne Collins' Black Feminist Theory, Kimberly Kernstraw's Theory of Intersectionality. This concept of building systems to hold those of us who experience the most forms of oppression. This concept is not new. The systems we need to build are ones that can hold, or should be able to hold, those of us who are technically at the very bottom of the socioeconomic ladder. Right now we ain't meeting the market. It ain't giving that. Okay, great. We all know that. We can see the world's burning. Great. I believe that ultimately, to create a world that can hold us all, we must embrace ways of being outside of patriarchy and matriarchy, outside of male and female, outside of man and woman, outside of rich and poor, outside of these things, to create new systems that allow space for the expressions of our own essence and ways of being beyond our current comprehension. Demonstrates the capacity to consciously shed, recreate, and embody new iterations of the self in response to inner truth while maintaining one's core concept of self, their essence, versus defining oneself by identities not made to hold us, or the complexity that resides within both Blackness and transness and gender nonconforming experiences simultaneously. Black and gender nonconforming people have long cultivated this ability, learning to wield essence beyond imposed limitations produced by interlocking systems of oppression. So we've always been able to make things in between these systems. When Black folks didn't want our gay asses, we went somewhere else. When LGBT spaces were very white dominated, we created our own. We always create our own. Black, trans, and gender nonconforming people have long cultivated this ability, learning to wield essence beyond imposed limitations produced by interlocking systems of oppression. To evolve, humanity must balance fluidity and polarity, just as Black, trans, and gender expansive people do on a daily basis. We must collectively create systems that reflect the full spectrum of existence within ourselves and the world, including forms not yet fully imagined, that dance between concrete and conceptual. Thus, I believe that repeated intentional transformation of oneself, of one's life, and of our communities in response to lived experience and new ways of being is not fragmentation or confusion, but an iterative form of wholeness. Transformation, too, is a natural state of being. What kind of world would we live in if we gave ourselves, each other, and our earth the space to expand and embody new ways of being? What would it look like to be freed of expectations that do not allow space for the collective change we all so desperately need in this moment of human history? Once again, back to the beginning. Auto of self, luminescence, the generation of light. The underground rainbow experiment emerges from the theory of autoluminescent being. It is a space that holds Black, trans, and gender nonconforming people as we intentionally engage in creative practice to split, study, wield, and regenerate our light, our essence, and help our communities do the same. The underground rainbow experiment is a prism through which our light and our lived experiences become color, and color becomes a method of self-definition, regardless of the realities projected before us. Light floods from our being because we will it. We did ask to be here. To my kin who may come across this video, I hope you understand how intentional, deeply necessary, and on purpose each part of your being is. You are as natural as the waves that glide across the sea. You are as natural as the birds that fly in the sky. Not only is our being natural, it is necessary. I truly believe that our wisdom deserves the space to be seen, cultivated, and adored. Not as a happenstance or an add-on, but as a central aspect of human existence. We are not an anomaly. We are the next step of evolution. This is the manifesto of the Underground Rainbow Experiment, with all of my love for the rest of my lives. I'm Jure, and this has been episode 1 of Retro Reflections, a series by the Underground Rainbow Experiment. Baby, bye. See y'all next week. Thank you for watching Retro Reflections, an ongoing video essay series by the Underground Rainbow Experiment. If you liked what you heard and what we're about, sign up for our email list or donate to our programming for Black, trans, and gender nonconforming artists at www.undergroundrainbowexperiment.org, or click the link below in the description. And remember, we create ourselves, we create our belonging, and we create our freedom.